Welcome to TYRO TV. I'm Ron Tijerina.
And I'm Cathy Tijerina. And Ron and I are the co-founders and co-directors of the Ridge Project and the co-creators of TYRO.
You know, TYRO fit, right? We're talking about fatherhood. We're talking about TYRO. It's a Latin word which means apprentice, novice, someone learning something new, a warrior. And also, you know, like today we're talking about TYRO fit too. Fathers in training, right? Or families in training.
Oh, yeah.
And that's what TYRO TV is all about. Families in training. But what are we training for? To build a legacy.
Oh, heck yes. A legacy of strong, healthy, thriving families. Ron and I went through our prison experience of 15 years navigating through that, with Ron doing time on the inside and the kids and I doing time on the outside. And we learned a ton about what it means to overcome obstacles of poverty, welfare, social injustice, and even this conflict between us.
You know, the greatest thing, I think, one of the lessons that we've learned over time was owning our own story. You know, we're on a highway of life, Cathy and I are. But guess what? I have my lane and she has her lane. So what I had to come to grips with is the chaos and the mess and the clutter and the breakdown of my highway.
The
right?
dysfunction.
The dysfunction of my highway. I had to come to grips with that because here I was in life always trying to clean up her highway. Right?
Because it was always me.
Right? And then but never really focusing on the potholes, the crumble, the concrete, right? And if you look at a bad road, right, I had dirt, I had asphalt that was crumbling, I had concrete that was decaying, I had guardrails that had been hit. If you think about all those symbolisms of a highway that has not been taken care of, that was my highway prior to prison. But as I went through life and started navigating, I began to clean up my own mess, right?
That's right. And clean it up. Keep cleaning it up, baby. So life is a continuous improvement plan. And through TYRO TV and our TYRO programs, our passion and desire is to share with you what we've learned. We've overcome a ton. We've got a strong, healthy, thriving family spite of the prison experience.
We are so grateful that, you know, it was devastating at the beginning of us experiencing poverty, entitlement mentality, and incarceration, right?
Absolutely. And living with a lame, right? So before Ron went to prison...
it takes one to what?
It takes one to know one.
Give me a kiss. 1, 2, 3.
No, wait. So when we think about living with the lame, and you think about the legacy, the lame legacy that you are building for your family, it's time to create a new foundation. And so today we're going to be talking about let it go.
Man.
Let the past stay in the past.
But you got to look at it, acknowledge it, see it for what it is, but don't carry it into your future.
So how do you let it go? Stay tuned. We're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we'll tell you.
Welcome back to TYRO TV. I'm Ron Tijerina.
And I'm Cathy Tijerina. And today we're talking about let it go.
You know, when we think about let it go, we're thinking about the grudges, the things that you've been carrying around in your life, even while you're in prison. You know, maybe people have disappointed you. Maybe people have said things they didn't mean, but they hurt you and they cut you in a certain way. And maybe they were years ago that those incidents took place, but guess what? They're still fresh in your mind like it just happened.
And not even just that. We're not just talking about forgiving other people. We're not just talking about letting things go in the past that people have done to you. But we're also saying to you, you know what? You got to let go of that lane. That person you used to be, you got to let it go. Because if you continue on and keep thinking that, wow, you know what? I'm going to struggle with this the rest of my life. It's just who I am. Or I can't overcome the fact that I did X, Y, and Z. And so I'm going to carry that forward with me and always make that part of my identity.
So there's two parts that we're talking about. One, what maybe somebody had done to you. And actually a third fold, and what are you carrying about your own past and the guilt and regret that you're carrying into your future, and what did you do to somebody, right?
Which is really part of number 2.
Yep. So we have to really make sure that we're helping you come to a place. So when you get home, Dad, right? You come home fresh, renewed, rebuild. You've reinvented yourself, and you're putting what happened to you, what you may have done, what you're carrying, put it where it belongs.
Which is in the past. You've got to recover. Face everything and recover. Don't let fear of your past, don't let the guilt of your past cause you to remain frozen in your present and future. So we encounter so many people that will say things like, wow, you know, I really want my kids to go to college, but you know what? I can't really talk to them about that because I never went to college, so I don't have a voice. I can't encourage them to do that. Oh my goodness. Or they'll say, you know what? I can't tell my kids to not get drunk, not have sex, not get high in high school because you know what? I did it. And it's like, wow, they're still carrying that bad character from their past.
The bad habits.
Right, the bad habits, and letting them stop them from living what they know now. So just because they didn't know when they were 15 years old the consequences of tossing caution to the wind, but now they're 40 and they know those consequences, but they refuse to take a stand for what they know is right because they're stuck in their own guilt of, you know what, I've got a past, and so I can't be a spokesperson.
You know, and that's crazy, because right now you are in the best place to be a spokesperson for not only your kids, but for anybody in your sphere of influence, right? When we talk about let it go, we're talking about helping people, helping ourselves deal with something that maybe you didn't want to look at for a long time, bring it to the light, and walk through the healing process of whatever that situation was. That's what we're talking about. And be empowered to what? To let it go.
Absolutely. Because if you don't let it go, everything that you're carrying from your past is like a log around your neck, like you're chaining yourself up and you're dragging those things forward. So really, you need to take a look at what are the things that I'm letting influence me right now in my life and stopping me from influencing other people. I mean, I cannot even tell you how many times I'm talking to partners, to the wives, and they're saying, wow, you know what? I really want to, explain to my kids the importance of not getting on welfare, the importance of finishing high school, but you know what? I can't. I can't talk about that because I dropped out of school. I got pregnant when I was 16, 17, dropped out of school, started going to work, and I just see my kids doing the same thing. And we're like, oh my goodness. Let it go. It doesn't define who you are today.
But it's going to take courage, dads. It's going to take a sense of urgency in your life that, I don't know how much time you have left before you re-enter into society, to when you re-enter into your family, or you get back involved in other people's lives that are not incarcerated, right? So you got to begin right there where you're at now, beginning to recognize the areas in your life that you're still carrying with you, the chains in your life that you got to break free from, the thinking that is causing you to believe that you're not worth it, that you're not worthy, that your value, that you don't have the value that in your own personal life that you can empower or help others be set free from their own past. Right? And this is what this is about. When you begin to let things go, what is it? It's a sense of strength. It's a sense of courage. It's a sense of recognizing, you know what? You're not denying it, right? You're not running in denial. You're owning it, but you're not letting it define you.
And so when we say let it go, we mean stop justifying it and saying, you know what, the end justified the means, right? The means by which I got here, you know what, yeah, they were illegal, they were immoral. Yeah, I regret I carry a lot of pain, I got a lot of brokenness, it's hard for me to bond now, whatever it is, all those things. But you know what, in the end it turned out because I've got 3 great kids that I wouldn't trade for anything. Okay, true, you've got 3 great kids you wouldn't trade for anything, but you don't want that journey for them. They can each have 3 great kids of their own without going through all those hurdles and heartache. So what we're talking about is letting go of the things that you did in the past that are causing you to think that, you know what, I'm going to justify what I know is wrong because the truth is that where I'm at today, I wouldn't be where I am without that. But that doesn't mean that your kids have to go through the same thing.
How do you stop the generational cycles of whatever it is that's holding you back, right?
Yeah. When we come back, we're gonna talk more about why it's so important that you let it go. So stay tuned, and we'll be right back.
Welcome back to TYRO TV. I'm Ron Tijerina.
And I'm Cathy Tijerina.
And today we're talking about letting it go.
Let it go.
Let it go. Let it go. You know, why is it so important to really come to a place in your life where you're not carrying forth grudges, right?
And you're not living according to a past code, a place that you were like, wow, in my brokenness, I made these decisions. And so now as I go forward, now it's going to stop me from ever becoming completely whole, because I'm going to continue to justify the fact that I was unfaithful, that I cheated, that I lied, that I stole, whatever it was, whatever that behavior was. And we're going to justify that, and that therefore always have a chink in our character.
Man, and once you recognize that the issue that you've been dealing with, whatever, it isn't even the issue. It's the way you're thinking of yourself. It's how you look at yourself, which really amplifies the situation. Right. So if you have low self-esteem and you are, always looking at yourself saying, you know what, I'm not worthy, I don't have any value, you will carry those past mistakes or the things that may have done to you or what you have done in the past, you will carry them and you will let that cloud you will carry that cloud. And man, I'm telling you, you're always raining on your own parade.
Yeah, nobody else has to beat you up because you're beating yourself up. Nobody else has to put an obstacle in front of you because you've already thrown up a whole roadblock. If you want to be successful, the why do you have to let it go? Why do you have to put it and heal from it? Is so that you don't continue to repeat those same mistakes, and you also stop those generational cycles.
So the question I got for you guys, how many of you men out there right now have more than one prison number? Come on, Dad, listen to what I'm saying to you. If you have more than one prison number and you have not examined what mistakes you continually to repeat to have the same outcome, right? This is where you got to let it go. Look at it.
Let it go.
That process, whatever it is you're doing, isn't working for you. Even let that go. Build a new reputation. Build a new you, right? That means you got to listen. You got to learn, right? You got to humble yourself, and you got to acknowledge, you know what? That was my past. I'm not going to bring that into my future, because guess what? As long as you have breath, your story's not over.
That's right. And you can rewrite. I mean, think about the fallen, reading books, and it's the best story ever when someone comes from completely terribleness and poverty and brokenness. I mean, think about Aladdin, right? The street rat. And then you watch him, oh, wow, it's because he had great character. Well, he was a thief, right?
No, he didn't have a great character.
He was a liar. But what they portray was that really underneath all of that, he was a diamond in the rough. So he didn't know he was a diamond. He had to go through all of this to discover he was a diamond. What if, at the very end, instead of him deciding and discovering, wow, you know what, I'm an honorable man. You know what, I am an honorable man. I am a diamond. What if he just never lived up to that? Then the story wouldn't end happily ever after. The same with your story. If you never live up to the potential inside of you, Aladdin, Dad, then your story is going to end in tragedy. You don't want your story to end in tragedy. The big why do you need to let it go isn't so everybody around you feels better. It's not so that other people can think, oh, well, I was right? They've forgiven me, so therefore it wasn't that bad. It's so that you can have freedom and you can lead your children into a future defined by peace, righteousness, joy, success, right? And that's your mission.
But if you don't see yourself as somebody with this potential, you will always hold on to the darkness in your life. You will always carry forward. But the thing about it is, why is it important? Because there's other people watching you now. Your children. They want to learn from you, Dad. They want to learn, how did you overcome the adversities in your life? Or are the adversities in your life dictating how you react, how you're living? Are you still allowing them to propel you into a place of destruction, despair, dysfunction, right? Destruction, despair, dysfunction. Because if that's how you're living, even behind prison walls, and that's how you're communicating to your family right now, that you're in a place of despair and destruction and dysfunction, right? They will take that upon themselves. Well, that's how my dad lives. That's how I'm going to live. Or are you empowering them, saying, you know what? My past does not define who I am, but it will qualify me for my future, because not only am I learning from it, but I am growing from it, and I'm becoming better because of it, not bitter.
Absolutely. You know, and even if we look at society, we even see a consciousness shift in society out here where people are starting to recognize the importance of experience, of life experience, and preparing people for positions. So let's say your experience was with drug and alcohol addiction, and now you've overcome that and you feel like, gosh, you know, there isn't really much I can do. Nobody really wants to hear what I have to say. That's wrong. More than ever, we're looking for authenticity. More than ever out here, people are looking for people that have been through it in order to help lead others out of it.
You've been through it and you overcame it.
Yes.
And you're the real McCoy, Tyro. You're the real deal with somebody who has lived life, who's been beat up, who's been knocked down. But guess what? We love underdogs, right?
That's
right.
right.
You got up, you shook the dust off, you reinvented yourself, you got cleaned up, sobered up, pumped up, motivated to not only make your life better, but to help others live a better life. Why? Because you learned the process of letting it go.
Life is messy. It's messy. And so being able, one of the true strengths of character, right? One of the truths actually of success is that we have learned how to navigate through the mess, come out, clean up, move forward in a way where our past does not define us or hold us back. And so if you want to know how to do this, then you're going to want to stay tuned.
So get out that pen and paper. If you haven't done it already, write these notes down and we'll be right back.
Playing catch, basketball, laughing and enjoying each other's company. These are all normal things on the outside, but many times are missed in a visitation setting. TYRO Dads brings the same fun experience to the inside through Family Days. As a TYRO Dad, you have the opportunity to participate in this fantastic event. Family Day is designed to allow fathers and families to engage with each other through activities designed to stimulate communication, learning, and play. Family Days will not only be a highlight for you, but for your children as well. The Ridge Project has strategically developed Family Day as an opportunity to help you connect with your child throughout your separation and help both of you develop skills to continue building your relationship when you return home.
Welcome back to TYRO TV. I'm Ron Tijerina.
And I'm Cathy Tijerina.
And today we're talking about let it go.
Let it go.
Right? The power of really setting yourself free.
Yes.
Right? And so now we're going to talk about how to do it. How do you make it out of go? How do you put this in your life to where you are exemplifying the power of freedom?
How do you disarm the trauma of your past? How do you disarm the past mistakes that you made so that it no longer causes damage today?
How do you change your
carrying
appearance?
that grenade around with you?
You know, and I like what you said, disarm, because a lot of people that we know that have not disarmed, we see it. They don't even have to tell us. It's all over their face.
Right.
It's the way they act. It's the way they walk.
They're constantly friendly fire all day, every day. Stop it. Let it go. Now we're going to tell you how. Because you can let it go.
And the first thing is you got to write your story. You got to take time, right? You got to take time to make time to write your story. Well, I might be saying that, but how easy is it to write your story? You know, so we're going to show you right now.
We're going to break down the process of writing your story because this is actually really simple to break it down and say, wow, you don't even have to write it all out in words. So if you draw a timeline, take a piece of paper. You've got your piece of paper and pencil there.
So you got point A to point Z, right? 2 dots.
Actually, don't do a dot on this end. Point A is a dot because that's your birth. You're still alive, so you don't want to put a dot on the other end.
Yeah, that's good, honey.
So this is your timeline. Put an arrow on the other line because this is whatever's happened in your life and your conscious choice is going to determine where you're headed. So once you have your dot here, you're going to draw lines on your timeline that represent decades. The first 10 years of your life, the next 10, the next 10, the next 10, to whatever age you are.
So on the top, what we want you to do is if you go 10 years, write down on the top of that line that you just drove, the positive things, the great things that have happened in your life. And in the bottom, so you got the upstairs, now we're going to talk about the basement, the negative things that have taken place in your life and write them out, you know.
So, and it's okay. If you had a decade that there was nothing really negative, it's okay. If you had a decade that there wasn't anything you can really think of as positive, that's okay for these purposes. So you've got your events in each one of your chunks of decades. So it might be, you know, my grandpa died. It might be that, you know what, we moved to a new city, which might have been a great thing. I made new friends. So whatever those things are now, you can really look at the story of your life that is chunked out in a very clear visual. Wow, look at all these wonderful things in my story. Look at all these painful things in my story. And then you ask yourself the question, have I been affected or infected by each one of those events? Now that helps you to begin to write your story, and the impact of the trauma and what it's had on your life, the impact of the positive, maybe a great teacher, maybe a grandparent, maybe somebody that really poured into your life and really helped you see things differently.
I don't know if you're gonna be able to see that at all.
Probably not.
Probably not. But anyways, to give you an idea, there's a line here with Cathy said the arrow right here, and each line underneath the top and bottom will represent a decade, right? So I was born in 1965, right? So this is where my timeline starts.
So you would draw a big line here, the first 10 years. If it's a negative thing, you draw a little arrow here, right with the negative thing. If it's a positive thing that happened during that time, you do an arrow
So
up,
let me write that
and you
real
write
dark
something
right there. That was pretty good.
So now you look at it, right? And so now you can clearly see what are the things that you are letting hold you back. What is it? What are the grenades that you're bringing into your future and your present? The things that you need to disarm. Now's your chance to really look at it and see it for what it is.
So as you're writing this what you're really doing is you're writing your autobiography. You're writing your book, right? And then after you do this, the second thing is you got to share your story. You got to share your story with somebody. Right.
And so we recommend the first place you share your story is first look in a mirror and tell yourself your story. The next place you share your story is with your significant other. If you're in a romantic relationship with somebody, you ought to be able to have that safety of saying, hey, there's some things I've never really shared with anybody, and I just want to get it out. I want to disarm this grenade, this bomb. I don't want to have it in my basement anymore. I want it to be out of my life.
So if we have a canister of a grenade, right? The grenade itself is not going to blow up. It's the content inside of it, right? It's the gunpowder or whatever they put in there to cause it to create an explosion, right? Well, that's what's in us. So we have to get it out
before it explodes.
And that's what's really cool about writing your own autobiography. Get it out so you can let it go.
Then you can choose specific things as life lessons to share with your kids. Now, your kids aren't your therapist. It's not like vomit everything on your kids. We're talking about picking out something and saying, you know what, when I was your age, I began to think wrong, and I got in with the wrong crowd because I wanted to be accepted. I wanted to feel strong. I wanted to feel whatever it was, right? And so then that led me into this path. So I want you to guard against your friendships. Whatever that life lesson is that you can teach your kids, start extracting those things so that you can pour positive into your babies.
What's really great about dads, when you're doing this, that you're going to build something that your children are going to really cling to, right? I mean, I would love it if I had a book or something I could read from my grandparents, my great-great-grandparents.
Yes.
If they had wrote their story down, we could find out what their life was like when they were living. That's what you're doing. You're creating a legacy. You're building a legacy. And guess what? Every legacy, there ain't no perfect legacy.
No,
there's blood, sweat, and tears. There's struggles. Successful people, successful families don't get to the mountaintop of success without shedding some tears, sweat, blood, getting there to what it takes to become successful.
But what they knew was that not only does their past not define them, not only did they have to write their story, share their story, but then they had to set goals. And those goals were the things that drove them into the future where that arrow's headed. So when we come back, we're going to take a very short break. When we come back, we're going to share more and tie everything up for you, so stay tuned.
We'll be right back. Welcome back to TYRO TV. I'm Ron Tijerina.
And I'm Cathy Tijerina.
And we've been having a wonderful time talking about the power, what happens to you when you let it go.
Let it go. Let it go, right? And so we talked in the last segment, we talked about 3 key things that you must do in order to really put your past behind you and not let it carry forward. Remember, we talked about disarming those things that could explode your future and blow up in your face and cause more harm.
So the first one was you got to write your story. Take time to write out your story, right? With the graph, right? You got your decades. You're writing down the highs and the lows in your life. And it's okay. It's something that you got to get out because that's that poison inside you that's stopping you from reaching the next level as a father, as a husband, as an employee, as an employer, all those things that you've been striving for in your life. You want to become successful. You want to move forward. Deal with the past. And the second thing is you got to share what you wrote. Share your story, especially your loved one. If you're in a relationship, share it. Get that stuff out. And I'm telling you.
Yep. And then after you share with your loved one, you're going to choose life lessons. Again, you're not dumping everything on your kids. You're going to select specific things that you've been through and lessons that you've learned, so that you can actually impart that knowledge into your kids to help guide them into a healthy future. And then the third thing that you're going to do is you're going to set goals, because as you looked at your future, as you've looked at your past, you're looking at where you are now. Now you can clearly see where you've been, how you got where you are. And so then you set goals for the future, which is that arrow.
So where you want to go? What do you want to look like after you dealt with it? Where do you want to be standing
Disarm
at,
it.
right? And this is really empowering oneself by being the example. And this is how you empower your children, because they can see, you know what? Dad struggled. Dad went through all this, but look at him where he's at today.
Look where you are today.
Thanks, babe. But that's you, Dad. You have the potential. You have that which is inside you. Each and every one of you have what it takes to become that great father, that great leader for your legacy in your family.
That's right. The powerfulness of letting go is actually the strength and the character that will propel you to reaching your goals and your dreams. Every obstacle will become achievable for you to overcome when you're not dragging your past with you. You can look at it, you can say, wow, I have learned. I faced greater challenges than this in the past. I can certainly overcome this. But if you let it defeat you, and if you're carrying all this baggage, all of these weapons of self-destruction with you, then you're not going to make it, Dad, and your family's not going to make it. It's time for a change.
Right now, you're overcoming a great adversity, right? Penitentiary. You're having success in there. Learn to build upon the successes you're having in prison, so when you come out, man, I'm telling you, you will have more success out here because you overcame the obstacles that you had to face inside the penitentiary.
So we want to thank you for spending this time with us today and letting us be part of your journey.
So here on TYRO TV, always remember that we are rooting for you.